What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol HLBZ for Helbiz Inc. On the left-hand side, we have the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. Now, this, of course, will be more of an update. We've covered this one, a couple days ago now. And the main thing to discuss here, and what I want to hammer home, is that unless you're an insider trader and you knew that there was going to be a partnership here with Amazon and the whole Italy deal that happened, there's no real way that you can take advantage of this, in my opinion, in a risk-friendly manner. You can feel free to debate me in the comments about that. But regardless, right, what are we going to do about this going forward now that we have a massive move higher, a catalyst, and a large gap underneath us? So the first thing we're going to do is just start with a blank slate, right? Let's clean this up, start from scratch here. So if we take a look at the gap up, right, clearly if we trade underneath today's low, and I'll get to that in a second here, we're looking for the gap to fill back down towards this 1551, the high of Monday, essentially. And what I meant by get to that in a second is if we take a look at the extended hours session here, we currently are trading underneath the low of the day, and what you'll notice is that this little indecision slash inverted hammer, right, is kind of rejecting the back test of the low of day. So I'm not saying the gap is going to fill all in one day tomorrow, but I am saying, it's not looking so hot. It's not like there was this huge momentum continuation out of the gates here, and obviously it's not like any of the move from today really held to the upside on that opening drive higher. So that's the next thing to point out. So let's turn this back off, take a little bit more of a focused approach to the regular trading hours session, and look at this through the lens of Fibonacci and structure, right? The first thing I would point out, and we'll see if fibs line up in a second, that's a critical area, right? Very clearly you can see structure here, low of the morning, then pulled back into it, formed an H pattern, right? So you get this, breakdown did take us lower, and then it rejected on the back test. That's 31.40, right? That's going to act as resistance now that we are below that. After that, I'm noting also that we have here at 36, nice round number. What I want to do now is just take a look through the lens of Fibonacci at the entire range of the day, and if any of those sort of line up with our critical areas. And what would you know? The 61.8 does line up with the top end of that range there at that 36 number. Not so much to the downside here with that flush point that we had, that H pattern low, but good to note, right? So all things considered, noting that overhead, there's quite a lot of strong resistance. Keep in mind also that anyone who got, real excited about this, right? Big gap up, the stock's moving hot and fast. Anyone who essentially bought in here is now proven wrong, right? Because we're trading underneath that. So if we start moving higher, they're either thinking, gosh, I need to get out break even, or, not for as much of a loss. That's all overhead supply now, right? And they're going to unload shares if they're weak-handed. Not saying they are, but I am saying, again, if some of them are, then that's likely the scenario that we would get on any upside. To the downside, there's really no structure in here to look at so much. So again, if we start filling this gap, please just be careful to the downside. I wouldn't fish for longs until we put in some sort of structural bottom or fill the gap entirely. And again, I'm not calling for that to happen, but I'm simply stating that I wouldn't want to be involved in this trade at all if we start trading with aggression underneath today's low of day. Noting that this is also almost the 50% retracement of the gap here around this 2041, and that we also had this double top here at 2350. Those would be areas where maybe that structural bottom is put in play. Again, I'm not looking to just blindly buy this or this here, but I am saying if we come down, do something like this, maybe we get inverted or, double bottom. The other scenario would be that inverted head and shoulders, right? That would look more like this. Or the same thing could happen down here, right? So double bottom, take the neckline break, or we get the inverted head and shoulders, so something like this, and you take the neckline break for higher, right? So that's where I would look out for those things to happen if we don't fill the gap all the way down towards 1550. So those are my 2 cents here inside of HLBZ. Again, it's all going to depend on what happens structurally with the gap. Do we move underneath? Do we start filling it? Do we put in some sort of reversal pattern? Until that happens, I'm not chasing this one long, right? It just does not look good for that scenario. You can clearly see that we have a lot of overhead supply here. So if you enjoyed the video, if you learned anything new, certainly let me know down below in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.